PlayStation VR 2 will not be backwards compatible with the original PlayStation VR. The surprise confirmation came earlier today from Senior Vice President of Platform Experience, Hideaki Nishino, during the official PlayStation podcast. Transcriptions of the episode are up now on multiple sites. This one comes from GamesRadar.com, and specifically, Nishino said, PSVR games are not compatible with PSVR 2 because PSVR 2 is designed to deliver a truly next-generation VR experience. Nishino continued, PSVR 2 has much more advanced features like all-new controller haptics, feedback, adaptive triggers, inside-out tracking, eye tracking, 3D audio is coming together, 4K, and HDR, of course. So this means developing games for the PlayStation VR 2 requires a whole different approach than the original PlayStation VR. These features actually enable developers to create worlds that feel more vivid and alive and bring players closer to the gameplay experience than ever. Nishino further backed Sony's decision by saying, games like Resident Evil Village and Horizon Call of the Mountain show how developers are using PSVR 2 to deliver a whole new level of visual and audio sensory immersion in VR games, which was a really nice experience to me. I really enjoyed that. Note that those are actually kind of hard claims to substantiate, at least for players, because those games aren't out yet. Players don't know how good or bad those games are yet because they're not slated to come out until sometime probably in early 2023 with the launch of the PlayStation VR 2. Also, as Games Radar and a number of other sites and people on Twitter have pointed out, the PlayStation 5 also features a lot of the same advancements that Nishino mentioned. New controller with haptic feedback, adaptive triggers, 3D audio, improved resolution, HDR, but it still managed to remain compatible with a large amount of the library on the PlayStation 4. The deal breaker here, though, is the way that the PlayStation VR 2 specifically handles motion tracking for your head and hands. Remember, the original PlayStation VR uses Move controllers, which were originally developed for the PlayStation 3. Many modern VR games use generally accepted protocols for standard code libraries to help make them compatible across multiple brands of headsets on PC, but it seems like the original PlayStation VR might have missed the boat on that stuff, or there is something specific about how it interacts with the PlayStation 4, making it too difficult or too expensive for Sony to make things work across the board. Meaning, it's likely if old PlayStation VR games are going to be made compatible with the PSVR 2, a decent amount of work would need to be done. At which point, it's up to each individual VR game developer to decide to do that work and bring those old games over. Perhaps if the work isn't too significant, developers would be willing to let players upgrade for free or for a discounted price, but it's not looking great. Eduardo Lamont, who is a VR game developer, a director at the team called Bitcake, who's known for their game De Magnet, said on Twitter, yeah, we were really hoping on capitalizing on PSVR 2's launch with a discount or something. Now we need to get a PS5 dev kit. They don't ship it to Brazil, where this developer is based. We need to update the engine, not easy, refactor a lot of code, and go through their quality checks. Oh God, please no. On the other hand, Sony making a clean break from the original PlayStation VR and the PS4 may make it easier to port PC and Oculus Quest 2 games over to PlayStation VR 2, which might be a better strategy in the long run. This announcement does come as a bit of a surprise. I think a lot of us were assuming that the PlayStation VR 2 would take advantage of the library that already exists for the original PlayStation VR, but that's not happening here. But maybe this also is the right call. You know, the original PlayStation VR and PS4 is old, and we're seeing even standard PlayStation 4 support be dropped for new releases. So maybe this is the right decision, but just with kind of poor messaging here. Whatever the reason, it's not a great look, especially when the company only a few weeks ago announced a base price increase for the PlayStation 5. So yeah, optically, not the best move for PlayStation here to reveal or confirm this information in the way that they did on this podcast. However, you can tell that they are excited about the future of PlayStation VR 2, and technically, you know, making a clean break from the old hardware and the old software feels like the right move, right? For the future of PlayStation VR 2 to support it as a platform going into the future. You know, it seems like they really want to make it as good as it can be, but that's not going to stop people from feeling burned, or like Sony is trying to get them to double dip, right? On having already supported the original PlayStation VR by buying games in that ecosystem, and now having to potentially buy those games again if they do get ported, that's always just going to feel bad. So definitely let me know what you think in the comments about PlayStation's decision to no longer support or to not support backwards compatibility for the original PlayStation VR. That's going to do it for today. Thank you so much for watching, and for more video game news and updates, stay tuned right here to Inside Gaming.